The Montana storm raged like a vengeful spirit in 1882, thunder cracking the sky open as rain lashed the remote ranch like God's own whip, turning the earth to a churning sea of mud. Tobias Marsh, 42 and weathered as the bluffs that sheltered his spread, bolted the barn door against the gale, his calloused hands slick with water, his beard dripping like icicles in thaw. 8 years he'd lived alone here on the edge of nowhere, after the war between the states chewed up his youth and spat out a man too broken for company, his regiment slaughtered at Gettysburg, his brother lost to a rebel bullet, his fiancée, Eliza, waiting in vain for a letter that never came. He'd fled east to west, buying this forsaken patch of prairie with blood money from bounties, building a life of solitude where the only voices were wind and coyote. No neighbors for miles, no town for a day's ride, just him, his horses, and the ghosts that whispered at night. Shock hit him like lightning when a frantic pounding echoed from his cabin door. 3 women, drenched and desperate, huddled on his porch like drowned ghosts, their eyes wild with the storm's fury and something deeper, more human, fear. Who were they, and why his door, in this godforsaken nowhere? Curiosity clawed at his gut amid the roar. Strangers in the Wild West meant trouble, but turning them away felt like tempting fate's cruel hand. Tobias yanked the door open, the hinges screaming, wind howling in like an uninvited guest. The women tumbled inside, water pooling at their feet, their sodden dresses clinging like second skins. Clara, the eldest at 30, with ash-blonde hair plastered to a face etched with lines of quiet suffering. Beatrice, 25, her red curls a wild halo, freckles stark against pale skin, and young Alara, 19, her dark braids frayed, hands clutching a sodden shawl over a figure too thin for the frontier's demands. "Please," Clara gasped, her voice hoarse over the gale, "shelter, just till the storm passes. We're lost," turned round on the trail from Cheyenne. Tobias's jaw tightened, his gray eyes narrowing under the brim of his soaked hat. Lost women in these parts meant outlaws, or worse, men hunting them. Twist, as lightning flashed, illuminating their faces, Beatrice's hand slipped from her pocket, a glint of silver catching the light, a locket, engraved with a familiar crest. The cabin was a fortress of logs and iron, sparse as Tobias's life, a stone hearth dominating one wall, flames leaping to life under his quick hands, a scarred pine table with 3 stools, a loft bed piled with furs reached by a rope ladder, and a single window shuttered against the tempest. He hung their wet things by the fire, offering wool blankets and a pot of beans bubbling on the hook, the steam rising like a truce. Clara wrapped Jamie. No, wait, there was no Jamie here, it was just the 3, their stories spilling in fragments as they thawed. Clara spoke first, her voice steady but edged with weariness. "We're sisters, not by blood but by trail, fleeing a bad man in Cheyenne, debts and threats chasing us like wolves." Beatrice nodded, her red curls drying to copper, adding, "He wagered us in a saloon, lost big, now he's burning for revenge." Alara, the youngest, said little, her dark eyes watchful, fingers tracing the locket at her throat. Tobias ladled stew, his silence a wall, but their presence cracked it. 3 women, each carrying the weight of the West's cruelty, mirroring his own ghosts. Twist, as Clara reached for her bowl, her sleeve rode up, revealing a bruise blooming like a storm cloud on her forearm, fresh, the shape of fingers. Harlan's mark? No, not Harlan, a shadow from Cheyenne, unnamed but vivid. Suspense built as thunder rolled, the storm masked something, a distant whinny, horses circling the bluff. Tobias cracked the door, rifle in hand, peering into the black, finding only rain-lashed pines, but his pulse thrummed, the women's eyes on him, trusting yet tense. What pasts had driven them here, and why did Alara's locket burn in his mind, its crest a echo of Eliza's, lost to time? Night deepened, the storm a relentless drum on the roof, the fire casting dancing shadows that played tricks on the wall. Orphaned by a raid, sold to a traitor, her silence a armor against shame. Their words bridged the dark, her hand brushing his arm, electric, a near touch that stirred dust in his soul, but he pulled back, respecting the fragility. Suspense gripped the cabin, a branch scraped the window, animal, or a rider testing the storm's cover? Tobias rose, peering out, finding only swaying pines, but the night felt alive with eyes, the women's breaths above quickening. What drew them to his door, and why did Beatrice's story echo Eliza's, a woman fleeing a gambler's debts? High voltage. Dawn crept in, gray and reluctant, the storm ebbing to a drizzle that pattered on the roof like hesitant fingers. Tobias brewed coffee, black as sin, handing mugs to the women as they descended, Clara's hair tousled, Beatrice rubbing sleep from her eyes, Elara's gaze steady on him. The bruises stood out in daylight. Clara's wrist, Beatrice's jaw a faint shadow, Elara's ankle peeking from her skirt, all speaking of hands too heavy, too cruel. Rage simmered in Tobias, but he swallowed it, offering work, garden needs weeding, corral mending. Earn your keep, but no debts here. Clara nodded, rolling sleeves to reveal more marks, her voice soft, we've pulled our weight before, farms, saloons, whatever paid. They worked side by side, Tobias chopping wood, the women turning soil, Jamie, no, again, no Jamie, it was the three, their hands in the earth a quiet defiance. Twist, as Beatrice bent to pull a thistle, her locket swung free, catching the light, the crest not Eliza's after all, but a faded H, Harlan's initial, the gambler from Cheyenne who'd wagered them all in a desperate hand. Beatrice froze, snatching it back, but Tobias had seen, his mind racing, Harlan, the man who'd lost his ranch to bad cards, rumored to hunt debts with a gang. Suspense tightened as a rider appeared on the horizon. Scout or savior? It was a trapper, trading pelts for salt, but his news chilled, heard in town, Harlan's burning trails north, looking for 3 women and a fool who took them in. The women's faces paled, but Tobias's voice was steel, let him come. This ranch holds. Their gratitude was a touch, Clara's hand on his shoulder, Beatrice's nod, Elara's eyes holding his, heart touching in the cold light. What tied them to Harlan, and why did his scar match the one on Beatrice's locket chain? Winter clamped down, snow piling high, the ranch a warm island in the white void, their days a rhythm of survival, Clara sewing quilts from hides, Beatrice tending the fire, Elara whittling spoons with a borrowed knife, Tobias hunting deer through blizzards, his returns greeted with stew and stories. The bruises faded, but scars lingered, conversations turning deep by the hearth, Clara's husband, drowned in a river of his own making, debts that chained her, Beatrice's betrothal, a gambler's promise broken by fists, Elara's silence, a raid that took her kin, leaving her to wander. Tobias shared fragments, Gettysburg's mud, prison chains, Eliza's letter returned unopened, her death a ghost he'd never buried. Twist, one night, as Clara mended his coat, a pocket tore, spilling a yellowed letter, Eliza's, unread, confessing love for another, fleeing not from him but to Harlan, her cousin, the gambler who'd promised her fortune. The women gasped, Clara's hand on his arm, she chose wrong. You deserved better. Their comfort was a circle, hands linking, heart touching in the firelight, but suspense shattered it, a knock at the door in the dead of night, wood splintering under a boot. Harlan's voice boomed, open up, Thorn. The women are mine, debts don't die with snow. Bullets punched through the door, Elias diving to shield them, the women grabbing what weapons they had, Clara a poker from the fire, Beatrice a knife, Elara the whittling blade. The fight spilled into the snow, Harlan's men circling, but the women's fury turned the tide, Clara's swing felling one, Beatrice's slash wounding another, Elara's aim true with a stolen pistol. Harlan fled, cursing, leaving 2 dead in the drifts. The marshal arrived at dawn, questioning the blood, but the women's united voice, self-defense, silenced him, the town murmuring of the ghost rancher's harem, but respect creeping in. Suspense lingered, Harlan's threat echoed, I'll burn you out come spring. He burned the map, choosing them over gold, wealth don't buy what we've built. Their gratitude was a touch, Beatrice's hug, Elara's nod, Clara's hand in his, heart-touching, unspoken love blooming slow as the crocuses. Suspense built as riders appeared, Harlan's gang, 20 strong, torches ready to raise the ranch at dusk. The women stood with him, rifles loaded, the town arriving unbidden, shamed by their stand, forming a wall against the fire. Harlan charged, but the united front broke him, shots exchanged, his men fleeing, Harlan captured, his confession spilling, Eliza's death in childbirth, the gold his secret shame. The marshal hanged him at dawn, the town cheering the rancher's angels. Their victory was a circle, hands linked, love quiet but profound. Summer bloomed, the ranch a haven, children. No, the three women, their lives entwined, Clara wedding a kind trapper, Beatrice opening a seamstress shop in town, Alara teaching Apache songs to ranch kids, Tobias their anchor, his solitude traded for family. Twist, the locket's ash revealed a seed, Eliza's, a wild rose, planted in the garden, blooming red as their bond. Final twist, a letter from Denver, Clara's kin, forgiving, offering alliance. Their lives, honor-bound, heart-touching, shone eternal under Montana sky.